That ending though, man, that ending gets me hype as fuck, dude. Rochi versus my boy Kida is finally upon us, dude. I've been really highly anticipating this scene and many others to come as far as this final KUJIRAGI Ketsu is concerned. As I've said before, anime onlys are not ready for the insanity that is going to transpire in this final KUJIRAGI. The scaling for this series is real, so you can only imagine what's about to go in. Light novel readers know what's good, but I digress. There will be no, spoiler section at the end of this video, no light novel dialogue, because in all honesty, this episode and the way it was handled and adapted, now that I've gotten my gripes about Shinichi out of the way this was handled was absolutely amazing. The execution, everything like that, especially in terms of the symbolism during the dialogue between Mikado and Izaya and everything like that, and the dialogue itself, just base 9, man, it was amazing. But I digress. Getting back to the original topic at hand, dude. When Rokujo just strode in there, man, with that cocky demeanor that he always has, and he's just like, you have two options. Okay, either you guys concede to being controlled by me, and you already see, and coming off of last week, when he went to visit Dorichi in the hospital, Rochi is about to make waves in Ikebukuro. There will be a ripple effect based on Rochi's actions right now. But I digress. You either get controlled by me, or just be destroyed. It's your choice, is what the man says. And did you see my boy Kida's face? I've been waiting for my Kida shine, man. The dude is like, oh, fuck no. Who do you think you are right now? Shit's about to go in. But Durarara Ketsu episode 3, the first thing I really need to talk about is diving into the dialogue between Mikado and Izaya. I do want to talk about that KUJIRAGI greatness and the scene between NEIKAWA and Anri and everything like that, but we'll save that for later on in the review. The dialogue between Mikado and Izaya, man. It's too real. It was so well done. And I actually want to dive into specifics, especially with that metaphor. Just coming off of the metaphor last week, which I absolutely love, that Izaya gave about the tightrope and everything like that. This one and how Mikado spun it, once again gaining even further insight into the man's psyche and his endgame at this stage, which we already knew, but seeing it played off of Izaya and how he feels and how he manipulates people and everything like that, and wanting to see what Mikado will do as a human being, was absolutely amazing. And I have to admit this, Maidu as narrator for the scene was absolutely perfect, because let's get into it. Izaya says these are the words I want to focus on, because they start off the dialogue with the normal pleasantries, Mikado kind of insinuating that Izaya sent Akabayashi his way, everything like that. He reminds Izaya of the words he told him long ago, where he was like, if you really want to escape an ordinary life, you have to continue to endlessly evolve and everything like that. And then as well calling out Izaya and being like, there's no way that you haven't had a hand in what's going on between me and Kida. There's no way that you don't plan on doing anything, right? But we get that inspection into Mikado's psyche once again, the guilt that he feels concerning the dollars, how he wants to protect everyone and make this kind of safe place for them to be, this kind of hero complex that he has that is very warped and twisted, and at the same time viewing himself as a component of the dollars that is non-essential at this moment, and once he's done with his purging, he will turn on himself, pretty much is his whole mentality at this stage. But at the same time, we peer into the inherent characteristic of Mikado, which is his indecisiveness, and how that has driven him to the point that he is at this moment. I love the metaphor where Izaya is basically like, will you continue to roam a dark ocean floor or return to a sun-soaked beach? And Mikado retorts by saying, I just want to end up standing at the water's edge. And I love how they have that scene, especially with both of them on the phone. Izaya, as always, skipping around Ikebukuro like a fiend. Absolutely amazing. I love the kind of dynamic air they give to his cell phone conversations. But mirroring that off of Mikado being on the rooftop as he says this line at the edge of this little puddle on the roof, and the way he skips over it is deep. I don't want to get too into it, but it definitely is a great use of symbolism at that stage. And he's like, I just want to go on gazing at something other than the place that I'm in now. I just want to remain in this boat on the water's edge, going round and round endlessly as the waves rock me. And what Maidu says in that moment as narrator is perfect. He's like, he just wants to be the borderline voyeur who always shows up on the camera. He wants to play both arsonist and Firefire, the worst kind of hero complex, dude. And if anybody needed that final insight into Mikado's persona at this stage, and how he's thinking, this right here contains everything you need. And then Izaya does something which is absolutely ridiculous, where he's just like, you just want to monopolize people's despair and bliss from your front row seat, playing God. And then Mario kind of retorts on that. He's like, more like the devil. He's an Akuma. But then, even Mikado can't just say that. He's like, he calls him Izaya, one of the rare times that he's ever done it. Izaya actually calls him out on it. And he's like, no, that's you. And I was like, exactly, Izaya, that's exactly what you're doing right now. It's not even what you're talking about. But then you can kind of see the parallels between the two, but at the same time, the stark contrast and difference between them. Then Mikado reveals to him, what exactly transpired, Manami's plan with stealing Celty's head and exposing it to everybody. And for anybody that thought Izaya would be fazed by that, I don't know what to tell you, man. As soon as I saw that laughter, I was just like, I just need to see how they would do it. Like, Izaya's anger in that scene, because he was definitely a bit annoyed by the whole thing. It's more so the fact that somebody knew about this before, that everybody knew about this before he did, that he was out of the loop in terms of the information, especially when it had to do with one of his own possessions, than the fact that Manami actually stole the head and he lost possession of it. That's where his anger was coming from in that scene. So that was amazing. I just really like how the dialogue between Mikado and Izaya was handled, and the kind of foreshadowing that's steeped in it, the symbolism that's steeped in it, and getting, more insight into Mikado's mindset at this time. But that aside, we had the whole, at the same time, and I love the pacing and the back and forth between these scenes with the conversation between NEIKAWA and Anri. And NEIKAWA, I have to say, NEIKAWA's voice actress is amazing. I've always felt this way, but just the eerie nature of that dialogue and how she was getting just the expressions, the movement, how she was getting in Anri's face and everything like that, delineating how basically her will had flowed into her, and how she basically wants to form this alliance so they can work together. She can have Takashi, and she'll help Anri with her love life as well, and ultimately reveals her aim of wanting Anri to concede Psyche to her. And also at the same time, this whole scene explores Anri's mentality, the scene coming off of last week's episode with what Izaya said to her co-singer and everything like that, and her fears of not being human. And it's been the longest time since Anri has said these words, and NEIKAWA forces her to this conclusion yet again. You're not human, nor are you a demon. You're Kiseishu. You're a parasite. And Anri hasn't adopted this mentality in the longest. She's like, you're right. It's true. No matter what, I wasn't human to begin with. And she resolves to use NEIKAWA to whatever extent it takes to save Mikado and Kida and everything like that. So I really like the way that the dialogue and the little skirmish between Anri and NEIKAWA was done, but it was really good KUJIRAGI, dude. That greatness that makes the scene and the little revelations that you get. I mean, I saw it coming, but I love the way that it was done, especially with KUJIRAGI's use of Psyche, the electrocution of NEIKAWA and everything like that, and her dialogue, where you can kind of peer and get a little bit more development for KUJIRAGI as well, and see kind of what her endgame is slightly, and how she operates, basically adhering to her contracts, etc., wanting to take Psyche back from Anri, the way that she kind of interacts with them. And I just love how they're portraying KUJIRAGI right now, dude. This kind of aloof, ridiculous demeanor, chilling in the park. It's no coincidence that she was there overhearing their conversation, reading this Dengeki Bunko cosplay magazine, and playing with cats and whatnot. And her reaction was utterly adorable when NEIKAWA was like, yo, you Dorobo Neko, you fucking thieving cat. And she's like, oh, I like that. I'm just like, KUJIRAGI for the motherfucking win. But the setup there is tremendous, and I can't really get too deep into it because I know what happens. So, like I said, I never want to spoil anybody because I know a lot of people are anime onlys for Durarara. So that's pretty much all I'm going to say about that. But I love the way that scene was handled as well. And just overall, the episode was paced very well. And as an adaptation, I think is doing a very good job with the last two episodes. And then you have that setup as well with Shijima, who had just recently infiltrated the dollars and everything like that. We know him to have been involved in the Heaven Slave production and whatnot. And having found out a little bit more about his backstory and his hatred for Yorogiri Jinai. And you see this masked figure who reveals that he had a hand in Dotachi's, accident. And the man is completely masked in disguise, wearing this false beard, the shades and everything like that. And you see him concocting this plan and trying to use Shijima to his own ends. And I like I said, I cannot spoil anything all I'm gonna say about the identity of this man is that you've seen him before. That's all I'm gonna say about the identity of this man. But that aside, that's pretty much the episode. It was really well done. Let me know your thoughts on it, and I'm out. Peace.